So, Mike, I can see you've written up the word responsibility there, and you've written it incorrectly, but correctly, because that is the origin of the word response ability. That's cool.
It is cool, but it still hurts me to see it written like this, if I'm honest.
That's because you're not anti-fragile enough. If I, um, so the story goes, and this comes from, I think, if I remember rightly, it was Stephen Covey's Habits of Successful People, old book, but still very, very cool. And he was telling the responsibility story or discussing the concepts in a big group of people. And there was a lady who stuck her hand up and she said, Mr. Covey, if I understand this correctly, you have just told me that the past 25 years of my life have been a lie, and all of the pain that I've been going through is my fault and not somebody else's fault. And he was going, did I just say that? I'm not sure if I just said that. And if I said that, I'm really sorry, but you have to explain now. And she said she had an abusive stepfather who was verbally extremely abusive and very old and basically dominating the family environment. And she'd been nursing him for 25 years and being very, very bitter about it for many years. And every day was painful. And the principle of responsibility is essentially, do you have the ability to respond? Yes or no? Yeah. Is it your problem? Yes or no? Is it you or actually something else and somebody else? Yes or no? If you don't have the ability to respond, don't do it. Yeah. It's like not your problem, not your job. It's somebody else. If you do have the ability to respond, then taking that initiative, so responding, taking responsibility, yeah, moving this into your sphere of influence is going to make you feel a lot better. And the lady in question, she said, for 25 years, I've been blaming this particular person. But what you're saying is that I shouldn't be blaming him. I should be blaming myself and simply looking inside myself and saying, it's the way that I'm dealing with it. It's the perception of what I'm doing that is the problem. It's not their behavior. They're not going to change. The only thing I can change is the way that I perceive this particular person and the way that I see what's happening here. I can change myself. I can't change the world around me. And if I can change the world around me, then if I do so, I will feel much better about it. And so it's this principle of, is there something that you can do about it? Yes or no, which I found extremely inspiring from the context of responsibility.
I think it is a really interesting idea. Of course, it's really important to highlight that in the example you gave, we're not saying it's their fault that this bad thing has happened to them.
Yeah.
What you're saying is put the question to yourself, do I have the ability to respond? And if the answer is yes, then have I responded or how did I respond and what options do I have? And recognizing that there's action and there's inaction. It just confronts us with the question that we need to think about.
So if somebody's shouting at you down the phone, yeah, you can't change the fact that they're shouting at you down the phone.
Mhm.
You can change the way that you respond. You can assess and analyze the way that you respond and decide whether that's appropriate or not. If it's not appropriate, you can decide to change it in a number of ways and test it and see if that's a better response. You can analyze the way that it makes you feel, and you can assess the way that it makes you feel, and maybe you can change that. That's what humans can do that animals can't, right? Humans can look inside themselves and say, that makes me feel sad. Should I feel sad about something that I can't control? Is that actually fair to me? And I think this is the principle of responsibility and responsibility that everybody can take on board with the intention of making yourself more resilient, anti-fragile, and building up a layer of strength that you can then really use in the future.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it's a really interesting idea and a really interesting kind of question to pitch to yourself in any difficult situation. So, the question for the participants then, can you think of a situation where you did take responsibility for something and you didn't need to take that responsibility, and the outcome was then negative? So you kind of
Ah,
took unnecessary responsibility, which led to a negative impact.
okay, so just to make sure that's so you took responsibility, yeah? You had the ability to respond and you did, but you shouldn't have done.
Yeah. Maybe
And
you
the
didn't
impact,
consider the question of should I?
yeah,
Maybe it was a compulsive, instinctive anger response, that kind of thing. That's the first question. And the second question then is kind of the reverse. Was there
yeah,
a time where maybe you should have taken responsibility? You didn't, and the negative outcome came because you didn't take the responsibility that may have benefited you.
yeah. Good questions.